Howdy folks, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am your host, The Mighty Bjorn, and today for you I have a mighty game review of DayZ. Now I am going to have a bit of a disclaimer here. I did not play DayZ when it was an Arma 2 mod, and I tried recently to go play it through Arma 2. The DayZ servers do not work for Arma 2, so I never got to try out DayZ on Arma 2. This is my only experience with DayZ, which is the standalone, and that's what the review is going to be on. Let's start off with the developer, and the publisher is Bohemia Interactive. The platform and release, early access, PC 2013, with official release in 2018, and it was also released in 2019 for both Xbox One and PlayStation 4. Now, what the version you're seeing here, the gameplay you're seeing here, is the PC version with the Livonia DLC, which I will dive into towards the end of the video a little bit more about it. It runs on the Infusion engine, which, if I understand information correctly, it's actually not completely the Infusion engine. I'm a little confused. I'm only paraphrasing here. And it is an open world survival horror game. It's got it's got drugs, it's got guns, and it's got zombies. What more could you ask for? And I'm definitely a fan of the zombie genre. My first earliest zombie films was Night of the Living Dead, actually, and Dawn of the Dead. All right, so now I'm going to talk a bit about the game itself, what I liked, what I disliked, and then we'll get more things rolling here as I go. Now, generally speaking, compared to Arma 3, and I am going to make some comparisons to Arma 3, is it runs good. Honestly, DayZ just works, surprisingly. Now, I did have some issues with it running, like it'd get a little laggy, a little choppy when it was loading a bunch of assets, such as like when I was rolling up the towns and it was loading in a bunch of zombies at once. Other than that, though, the game runs actually pretty damn smooth. It does have mod support. I do appreciate that. That kind of keeps a game like this alive and wanting you to play it for a long time. You can try out different mods. Mods makes different effects, gives you different things to play with, and actually some of the mods even gives you different creatures to kill, such as some of the creatures and monsters from Stalker. I feel the game's got decent graphics. I was actually surprised to find out that the game was early accessed in 2013, and I suspect that the graphics of the game itself had been updated since then, because it definitely looks like it has more modern graphics. That being said, I feel the graphics is honestly better than Arma's graphics, although some of the color palettes can be something a little bit to be desired, but I'm not going to score it too hard there, because generally the graphics were good. It does have an advanced medical system. Now, we're not talking Escape from Tarkov advanced, but compared to the big majority of the games out there, it definitely does have an advanced medical system where you have to take vitamins to help prevent from getting sick. You have to eat properly, drink regularly, sleep, things of that nature. When you do get sick, you got to take medication for your sickness. You can get toxic poisoning. You can get cholera. You can get blood poisoning. Because actually you can bleed, and when you bleed, you can either recover your blood over time, or you can use a blood pack that's full of blood, and if you take the wrong blood type, you'll get blood poisoning from that, which is real. It's a real thing. The game does have base building. For the most part, it's pretty simple, but it can also get pretty advanced, especially with some of the mods out there when it comes to base building. I would not say this is anything like Conan Exiles or Ark Advanced, but it's still pretty damn good. And it works actually fairly well. It's nothing absolutely crazy. It's not hard to do. It was kind of hard for me to figure out how to get things started. But once I got things started, got things rolling, got a flow of how to do it, it was really, really, really quick. So it just works out really good there. Now, when it comes to server play, you got various options. You have dedicated PvP. You have limited PvP where it's only in certain zones. And you have PvE. You have servers with mods, servers without mods. servers with completely different mods. So it's actually really crazy how many different types of servers you can have and how you can set them up, and, you know, different server rules, things of that nature. The game does have vehicles. It doesn't have a ton of vehicles, and it doesn't have anything crazy like tanks or armored cars, although there is a mod out there for a BRDM2, I think is the heaviest thing I seen. Didn't see anything in the way of tracked vehicles. Didn't really see any armed vehicles either. But that being said, they are there. There's definitely a lot of different types of vehicles that you can drive and play with, especially with mods. Actually, you can see one of the modded vehicles here as I'm driving around in the Humvee. The gunplay is good. Once again, not Escape from Tarkov good. Feels a little bit better in Arma, but honestly, it's still relatively pretty good. Nothing super fancy, but it works. I mean, I've played FPS games with worse gunplay than this game does. It does actually have repair mechanics, and honestly, the repair mechanics for your vehicles, for your body armor, etc., is all actually rather pretty good. Because that being said, like, if you don't, and this kind of rolls into the gun mechanics too, if you don't clean your rifles, they'll jam. And you'll have to clear that jam. Sometimes that jam really isn't nothing. Sometimes you got to almost beat the hell out of your rifle to get that jam cleared. So it's kind of cool how that works out. Now the game, it is a survival game, and it does have wildlife, which Ted Nugent approves. You know, you can go out there, you can go hunting, you can gather a lot of meat from wild game. The server I'm playing on here, which is it is What Remains server. They actually have vendors in it, so I can actually sell like the deer skins and that, bear skins. I can hunt different types of game. I can hunt roe deer. I can hunt elk. I can hunt bear, boar, all kinds of different stuff. Now that being said, folks, it's also got some really, really good lighting effects. I do have to point that out as well. I like how the shadowing works, especially when you're trying to drive at night. And like if you have a bush in your way, it will actually have a shadow. You're going to cast a shadow past that bush. So it's really cool how they did the lighting mechanics, the shadow mechanics, especially when you get into the realm of nighttime driving, which I don't drive a lot anymore with the headlights at night. I prefer wearing night vision. It's got advanced survival mechanics. You do have to worry about bundling food, bundling water. You have to actually worry about your food spoiling, especially like your wild game, your meat. That can spoil. Of course, there's mods out there that can put things in the games like MREs. Most canned food won't spoil as long as it's not open, at least from what I can tell. Fruit and vegetables will spoil. There's also ways to actually preserve your food through either dehydrating or smoking, stuff like that. So there's even a way to preserve your food and cook your food, things of that nature. I like the voice chat mechanics. This game actually has some really, really good voice chat stock in the game. Now, when I was talking to my buddy, I would use Discord, but when I talk to someone else on the server, it's like a proximity chat. You have to be so close to them for them to hear you. And the closer you are, the louder they hear you. And the further away you are, well, they sound further away. If they're wearing a gas mask, that will muffle the sound. So actually, it even shortens the distance. You practically, if someone's wearing a gas mask, you practically have to stand on top of them to hear them. Also, if the person's in an enclosed vehicle and you're outside the vehicle, that also affects how you sound to each other. So it's actually really cool how they did that. I think it's cool how they took the time to do that anyway. Now, that being said, though, things I disliked. The AI can be absolutely stupid. Now, listen, I know I'm going up against zombies. I'm not expecting Stephen Hawking level intelligence here, folks. But I am expecting that if a zombie's literally standing right directly in front of me, staring at me 5 feet away, that Stenchy can see me, and that the AI will take over, and that Stenchy will try to eat my spleen. But there was moments where the Stenchy would just like look at me and just stand there or just turn around and run away. And then there'd be other times where it's like I would be trying to sneak up on them and they hear me a fucking mile away and come right at me. Like I just draw an aggro from like halfway across the map. It's crazy. So I don't understand why the AI is just so weird and just so random and mixed. There's just like no consistency, in my opinion, to the AI. Driving can be clunky, especially the fact that the driving, you can't switch it from manual to automatic. It's always manual transmission. The other thing that's always weird is your W key is always your momentum, no matter if you're driving forward or reverse. Your S is always stop, always your brake, no matter if you're driving forward or reverse. And then your A and D keys does your turning. And it's just really weird to me how that was done, especially because most games, if you put the car in reverse and hit the S key, it backs the car up. And, you know, if you're in drive, if you hit the W key, it drives forward. And then your S key acts as a brake. And I'm not going to dive into it too deep there. It just seemed weird compared to normal most games. There's no helicopters. From what I understand, helicopters were actually promised in this game. Now, there is mods that will give you helicopters. But from what I understand, the core game itself does not have mods. Now, the next thing is, you saw me a bit ago using the intervention. There's other weapons in this game that have bipods. Bipods? What bipods? The bipods in this game just does not fucking work. And what's really crazy is a pipe, a rail will actually, like your weapons will not clip through something like a rail that you would typically set your gun up on. So it's kind of shit that there's just no bipod, and it just kind of drives me nuts. The collision mechanics are absolutely poor, especially when it comes to vehicles. You'll be driving along, and all of a sudden, a tree the size of a toothpick will completely stop your vehicle like a tank trap. And sometimes your mirror will hit a branch, and your car will just go flying because reasons. That one just flew up in the air.
Yeah.
The game itself is not very ergonomic, especially when it comes to the inventory system. And I know it's a grid-based system, and grid-based systems are not really typically considered being ergonomic. But when comparing to Escape from Tarkov and some other games like Diablo 2, that uses Diablo 2 is older than this and uses a grid-based inventory system. Honestly, when it comes to the ergonomics, it's not very good. Yeah, it's more advanced because you got to carry different packs and pouches and things, and they all have different storage sizes. But at the end of the day, it just comes down to it's just not very ergonomic at all. There's no solo play yet. That was promised, and still, here we are, 2021, still no solo play. No server hosting like Arma. You could do server hosting on the fly with Arma 3, and you cannot do that here with this game. You actually have to download a server tool or actually pay to rent a dedicated server. And honestly, it's all just a pain in the ass. I'm just going to put that blunt. So I can't just open up a server from like on my PC, real nice and easy, for like maybe me and my buddy just to play, screw around, maybe experiment with some mods, whatever. And actually, with that being said, they're still missing features that were promised. That's still not in this game. Game was released how many years ago? Various bugs. Lots of bugs. Most bugs really aren't bad. A lot of the bugs I did see were not game-breaking. They were kind of like, oh, well, that item glitched out or whatever. But then you'd get the falling through the map shit. And to me, that is game-breaking. Sometimes it would kill my character. Sometimes it wouldn't kill my character. I lost quite a few vehicles because they fell through the map. Things of that nature. And now this is the weird part. Okay. Zombies. I built a fence around my base. and it's got barbed wire. No players can climb my fence. But zombies can climb my fence as if it's not even there, even though it's got barbed wire. The barbed wire does not even slow them the fuck down. But then I've seen it where zombies can't even climb through a fucking window that I was able to climb through. Okay, it's not overly negative, but it's like, can we have some logic? Can we have some consistency? Can barbed wire slow down, if not stop, zombies from jumping over my fence? And we're talking a tall fence here. You know, we're talking like a 7-8 foot tall corrugated steel fence. And they're just going over it like, you know, an Olympic runner jumping over a hurdle. You know what I mean? Now, that being said, one thing I'm going to do is shameless plug in. It's not my server. It's the server I played on. I played on a server called What Remains. I'm going to put a link for their Discord down below if you guys want to check it out. It is a PvE server. The admins are really good, really friendly people. They helped me out, answered questions for me. And, well, I never told them, but there's a lot of time where I was recording and doing video editing and stuff like that to do this review. I definitely want to give them a big shout out, though, because all in all, while I feel what I feel about the game, they did make the experience better. They were really friendly, really good people to deal with. My buddy and I, we've been on other servers and had to deal with other server admins that were, well, I got a couple choice words for those assholes. We'll say it that much. So, you know, if you're looking for a server full of friendly people, check out the What Remains server. Link down below in the video description. Now, let me give you my conclusion here. DayZ itself is $44.99. Pretty crazy for a game that's actually that old already. The Livonia edition, that's both DayZ and the Livonia DLC, is $53.08. And the Livonia DLC itself, this is just a fucking map, folks. Folks, this is just a fucking map. $14. That's USD, folks. I don't know euros. You'll have to convert that yourself. $14 fucking dollars for just a fucking map. Now, don't get me wrong. The map is nice. And honestly, I could, if you're really into DayZ, I can definitely recommend this map if that DLC is on sale. I would not fucking pay 14 bucks for just a fucking map. And that's all you get. And that's actually, in my opinion, really upsetting and salty. Especially because the Livonia map is actually just a port from Arma 3, folks. The Contact DLC, that's $20, and actually has some real legit, serious content for single player, as well as the map, came out before the Livonia DLC for DayZ, and it's just a fucking Arma 3 port. So I am salty about that. That being said, the only way I'd recommend that is if it's on sale. In general, my overall experience with the game is... honestly, I find the game actually fucking boring. You know, there was moments that was some real entertainment. There were some moments that was fun. Don't get me wrong, but my overall experience of this game was fucking boring. And I'm not a huge fan of survival games, but I really like Conan Exiles. I really like Valheim. Valheim is actually awesome. And when it comes to a survival game like this, honestly, I would rather play The Forest, because The Forest is actually cheaper, has more polish, and generally is actually just a better fucking game than this. So, folks, that being said, for 45 bucks, save your money and buy something else. Anyway, folks, that's my review of DayZ. Sorry that I'm a little salty about it at the end, but there it is. It is what it is. Hopefully you folks enjoyed it. Thank you very much for tuning in, and have yourself a wonderful day.